Today I'm going to show you how to make fabulous texture using these wonderful Duster Stippler brushes. All right, so making texture with a Duster Stippler brush. Here's what's cool about the brush. The brush is super long and it's super kind of floppy, sloppy. It is not the same as I'm going to use the older one because they get a little tighter as they get used. This is not floppy, sloppy. You can do texture with this, but it's going to be a tight texture, not a loose texture. So what we're going to do today is use this for a loose texture. You can have this be wet or dry, which is different than what we do with our dome brushes. And it's got a flatter tip to it. It's not as domed. It has a little bit of a dome, but it's a little bit flatter. Comes in 4 sizes, and I've got to tell you, you can't wreck this brush. I haven't yet ever had one just destroy it. This one has a crack in it, so I might be close. But it is well worn, and they are amazing. So you can get them in any of the sizes. They're super affordable, very cheap, and they just last and last, so it's a great thing. I'm going to show you some textures, and then I'm going to replicate the texture. So you can see it. They're kind of all the same, so really... they're similar, however, I layer differently, so that's different. So this is on a stepping stone. This is one of our videos on YouTube, so you can subscribe, ring the bell, you'll be notified of when we have new content. But this background, it's a little bit hard to tell that there's a texture that's growing into the middle, but I'm going to show you how to do that kind of fade texture. And that's a really good thing when you want to highlight the thing in the middle. So we have magic dust going along, we have a big bright butterfly, we've got it dark out here, and we frame it with the color. So I'm going to show you that first. So it's like a smooth framing texture. I'm going to break my board into quadrants here. And so actually, I think I will switch to a slightly smaller brush. And I've gotten out the number 51 green color. And if you want to have your bottle not spit at you, you shake, 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 and then tap. If you do this in a quiet room, and you do it really loud, people will be startled. So give them warning. That happened to us just recently. So shaky, shaky, shake, especially if it's a color that you haven't used. And then that just taps the stuff away from the spout. They can explode on you a little bit. And then this is going to be our highlight color. And this is one I definitely don't use all the time. So definitely shaky, shake. So when you want to make texture or a faded texture, you start with the wet of your base color. So I'm going to go in with my black. I'm going to give myself a nice big area. Doing it dry brush. I could do this wet, but I would blot the brush. Okay, now you're going to go to your next color, and we're going to use a paper towel. I'm going to go into my green. Maybe I'll wipe that black out. Go into my green. And now I'll go right against my edge. And then while I'm doing this, I'll kind of methodically cover the surface. I can go back with my black after I get done. I'll wipe this off. I'll pick up the green. And then I'll start in the middle. And I'll just kind of work my way out. And then as I get to my edges, I'm going to lighten up my pressure. Not so hard, not so mushy, because it'll slide out. So see how we're getting that little bit of a glow there. Wipe off on my paper towel. I'll pick up my bright, and I'll wipe that out just because it's going to be a little bit too bright. And then soft pressure. We have a video about pressure and brushes and how to paint. And if you watch that one, you will be so much wiser. So make sure that you go check that one out. And so then I'm just wet blending that, and see how I get just that little bit of technique where a little bit of texture, if I wanted to. So I would stop right here and put my butterfly right in the middle. That would be perfect. But while I've got this wet and while I've got this in these colors, if I wanted to smooth out my texture, I would very gently just swishy, swishy a little bit. And then that softened it right down. And then when that dries, you're going to have a beautiful place to put your butterfly. Next, I want to show you how to do the texture that we have on the saw blade. This is one that we've also done a video on. You can do texture for the rust. You can do texture for the metal that is rusty, and that just shows like aged metal. So it's the same technique, but showing it in the different colors, I think, and then adding that rust on top of it is kind of, I think it demonstrates how much color plays into our painting. So if you master the technique, you can apply the different colors and it works. Okay, so I'm gonna go into the medium brush here. I've got the number 4, I think, and pull out our colors. I'm gonna use less paint than I did the last time. If I'm not pounding it on the table, then I'm not opening it fast. So I don't open it all the way up, so it gives it a chance to settle back down. Okay, so now we're gonna go over here in this corner right here, and we're gonna do the same thing with the black. You don't always start with the main color, like if I'm black on the bottom, but the gray with the black as a base is gonna blend just a little bit, and that's important. So in a way, I'm not even gonna stipple this black coat, I'm just gonna give it a little base. So just kind of wet and wet. Wet and wet is a really good blending technique. So my brush is wet with color. My paint is wet. My paint is wet, and the two of them will, those two things will make everything connect. So I'll pick up just a little bit, not too much, stipple off, blot, and then we'll go over here and we're just gonna tap so gently. We wanna begin the texture. And so that's gonna lay a foundation of your texture. I love the stipple of this. You could also use a sea sponge, but a sea sponge is a more open texture, so this is a closed texture. I'll wipe that out. We'll pick up the next color. This is probably gonna be bright, and I'm probably gonna wanna really wipe that out. And so that will go over the top of that, and it will be just another layer of texture, which will make it more refined. I'm looking for even. Doing this with my hand. Okay, and then if you need a little bit of movement, you could pick up your black and you could go in and just do a little bit here and there just to soften things out. Wipe out your brush. These brushes are magic. Truly, if I could just tell you about these brushes, they really do a phenomenal job for a dirt cheap price. I can't believe how cheap they are, actually. So then for our rust, we're gonna go in and we're gonna just add concentrated little bits, and I might twirl my brush just a little bit, pick up a little bit stronger. So you can do that. You can give yourself layers with the same color by just blotting off a lot and then coming back over and doing a couple of layers. So give myself the rust look. And that's super fun. You guys, texture is my happy place. The next texture we're gonna do is snow. You guys, this is so much fun. This little guy is adorable. He's super easy and super fun and super fast. He's a tall porch leaner sign, and I love that we put a scarf around him and did all the things, but the snowy look is what makes him magical. Okay, so we're gonna go with the big guy on this one, and we are gonna go ahead and just give him like a base, a quick little base. Didn't need it black. You can do wet and wet. You can do not wet and wet, whichever way you want to go. I'm just going to try to clean up my corner here. And then flip them over. Dry that out. Pull in some of our gray. And once again, it's even coverage. You want to move up because you want to have a bigger brush to do a bigger area so you're not working so hard. And then the other thing that you can do is you can do hard stipples, and you're going to get like a much more textury, crunchy effect versus soft stipples, which are going to give you so much with the pressure. Like literally, go watch the video on the pressure because that's the one that's going to save your bacon. And then if you do too strong a thing, like maybe you put a polka dot there, but you really wanted it like that, you can go over that and blend it down and then kind of smooth it out. If you can't smooth it out, pick up a little bit of your gray and go over the top of it. So just like makeup in a way. The nice thing about these brushes for texture is you can wet them, dry them out really, really good, and you can go right back to work with them. And so you don't need to own 25 of them. The dome brushes you can't use wet, so those are a problem as far as using them wet. So you get that going like that, and then we can go, I think I can go one more coat here. As I load more paints on my brush, it'll get lighter and lighter. So now I can go right on top of there. And I can get it lighter, and then I can go into white. So that's the load. Lot that off, and now I can go and build my texture. So what it does, the more you build the layers, the deeper your texture looks. So it's really, really cool when you get it nice and deep. I think that's what's so pretty about Mr. Snowman there, is it's got good layers. That is one of our videos as well, so you can go check out the entire thing. You'll get the colors and you'll get all of that stuff. This is just an intro to the coolest brush. All right, so this is very similar to the stepping stone, but it has a crunchier look. This is also one of our videos, and this is a wine advent calendar. So you can have an adult countdown for Christmas, and that is also one of our videos. And we'll link all of that stuff down below. Make sure you subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up if you like what we're doing here. And so now I'm going to show you how to do a little bit crunchier. Now in this video, I believe I used a sponge, which is the other way that you can do this, but I just want to show you what this brush can do to give you the different kinds of texture. So I'm going to go into the green. I'm not going to wet it with the black. I'm going to wet it with the green. And this green is a really pretty dark green. This project would make the best gift. If you want to do any shopping, you can go to StudioR12.com. It's studio, the letter R, the number 12.com, and we have hundreds and hundreds of surfaces and thousands of stencils. So this is easier because you use the lights, the string, and the numbers using the stencil, and then everything else is freehand. It goes really fast. Okay, so we're gonna go here, we're gonna pick up our green, and I'm using the little brush, but I'm just gonna use it lightly. The little brush has a little bit more openness to it. Now something else that oh, look at that. That's what I wanted. So if you don't get that right away and then you figure out your routine, you figure out the pounce, you can go right back over it. Super forgiving. The other thing that you can do, you can give it a little bit of a mist. This is a really cool fine sprayer, and it's supposed to be continuous, but it's super short and small. The continuous ones that are bigger do a better job, but it does a fine job, like a super fine mist. So you can go over this with a fine mist, and let's wet it a little bit more. And now a little bit more paint. And now that will carry that water around, and you can see the difference between that texture and that texture. And if you want it a little bit more, give it a little bit more of a mist. And so that's a fun way that you can change your texture too, is you can wet your surface. Pick up our highlight color. I pick up a little bit more because it brush blended. And then on here, we'll go in and just give it some even highlights, and we can actually leave it a little bit stronger in places. So you could leave a texture. And then when I'm doing that kind of dancing texture, like around a tree or whatever, I like to turn my brush so I don't get a pattern. Did you ever know that there is this much to know about paintbrushes? It's so cool. I love brushes. And then we can go right over here. It's not even bright enough because the water. And we can give this just that little bit of texture. All right, and then you can just wash these with water, don't use soap. I hope that you enjoyed this lesson. Make sure that you subscribe, ring the bell, and we'll see you in the next video.